And welcome in live to the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris behind the scenes as well for the College Football Playoff Rankings Week 2 edition. We would have done Week 1, but it was Halloween and I had to take my kids trick-or-treating. So that's where we're at on that front. We will break down the rankings as they come in, do a Alabama-Kentucky preview, and do a mailbag. You can get your questions in using hashtag RTR right now. Where do you think Alabama should be ranked this week? Obviously, last week they came in at number 8. None of the teams in front of them lost. Doesn't mean that they all played great or were perfect or whatever, but they all held on to wins. Texas was the one that was a little bit dicey there. So, with that in mind, producer Chris, where do you think Alabama should be ranked? Non-homer answer.
I mean, my non-homer answer is going to sound like a homer answer, but...
You're going to say 3?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think we should be 7. I think only just one spot up. Mm-hmm. I have beef with Oregon.
Okay.
That's my thing. I also think Florida State is overrated. You know, they got a good win versus LSU. Can't discredit that. But I don't think they've really played anybody, and I don't frankly think they've played very well against those other teams too. Oregon is just all straight to schedule to me. They got one good win against Utah and, you know, a good loss, quote unquote, to
the best loss, or the best, like, reasonable top team loss,
right,
I guess.
Right. I think straight to schedule, Alabama's got a harder strength to schedule. When it comes to the loss, Texas is right there too. So, I mean, I think they should be 8 under us, and then Texas and Alabama go up one spot.
Rock is right. Oklahoma lost. They were behind Alabama already. So that's not necessarily a massive surprise from that perspective. And that's, I don't know if that helps them or not. You know, I guess we'll see how that impacts things in the short term. But where do you guys think Bama should rank? A lot of 6s coming in there, which I think you'd have to. Can you jump over Texas, though? That's kind of the issue I have at this point. Can you jump them over Texas? So I'm on board with you with the Oregon stuff. The way the committee handles the Pac-12 is very weird to me, right? Because last week they had Washington 5, Oregon 6, then they had Oregon State 16, Utah 18, UCLA 19, USC 20. And Washington was 5 because they had the best win. Oregon had the one quality win, and then that part was it. Which kind of feels like they say Oregon, Washington are good, but we still put Washington 5. And I was a bit surprised Oklahoma was behind Texas and Alabama. I guess the committee was right because they lost.
My thing with Washington is really it's a beef with the whole Pac-12. Mm-hmm. Is this the same Washington that we saw make the playoffs a couple years ago when Alabama went in and just, bullied them?
Low key, I think the Pac-12 is actually really good this year.
They have good offenses, that's for sure. But every single game, it's like the over-unders in the 70s. I'd
rather that than play Iowa 8 times. Yeah, well, no, they're good. They're actually a good team. They have no offense. They have a top 10 whatever defense and a garbage team. It is what it is. So where should Bama rank this week? I see all 6s in the comments section here, producer Chris, as we're already getting the initial top 25 rankings. We'll go to that live right now. Kansas State is number 25. They will slide down 2 spots. North Carolina is number 24. Tulane is number 23. So get to that listicle here. Iowa is number 22. Right on cue. Iowa, there they are. Arizona is number 21. So not ranked Arizona, Iowa, and North Carolina all jump into the top 25. That's going to put Air Force out. I think that's going to drop at least some combination of UCLA, USC out of. I think that's who's going to drop out of the top 25. Any thoughts on this initial top 5 here, producer Chris, or bottom 5, I should say?
A little surprised maybe that Kansas State stayed in.
They kind of should have won that game.
Yeah. I mean, it was a quote unquote good loss.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really don't have much beef with anything else.
All right, next 5 coming in here. Notre Dame is number 20. They will slide down several spots. They drop down 5 positions. LSU also slides down 5, so still a ranked win, a top 20 win for Alabama after taking care of business against the Tigers. Utah stays at number 18. Oklahoma plummets down the rankings all the way to number 17 on the list. And then Kansas, how about the Jayhawks, who do have the head-to-head win over Oklahoma, mind you? They skyrocket all the way up to number 21, which I think that means Oklahoma State is going to jump Kansas, despite being behind them last week when Oklahoma beat Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma State. That's kind of crazy there. All right, more ones coming. I'm going to push it across there, and as they update in real time, it's perfect. Oklahoma State is number 15. Missouri will drop down 2 spots to number 14. Tennessee is 13. So they actually slide up several spots this week. So that gives Bama still a top 15 win because LSU dropped out. Tennessee now rises up there. Oregon State up 4 spots, and Louisville up 2 spots as well. So Missouri just kind of slides down several positions after that loss there. I think they're going to hold here at that point. So let's get to a different weigh-in. As we await the top 10, we'll jump back to it once we get there. But Oregon just kind of rotate. Let's go to a weigh-in and then rotate through. Those of you just now tuning in here. Will Alabama make the college football playoff this year? Y for yes, N for no. I think they have a great shot. Now, I think the path is to win. I don't like their chances if they lose another regular game, or more likely they lose against Georgia. Really tough path to make it there. Let's go to the top 10. Perfect timing here. As your votes come in, Y for yes, N for no. Penn State up 1 spot to number 10 on this latest batch of CFP rankings. The Nittany Lions rising on up here. We're actually not doing the graphic update, so as soon as someone does that, we'll go to it here. Penn State is up 1 spot as your votes come in. Y for yes, N for no. Sarah says yes. Marcus says yes as well. We are now just inside the top 10. The Penn State Nittany Lions up a spot. So nothing unexpected. You would assume Ole Miss checks in here at number 9. That would be the continuation with where things currently sit. As we've got a SCO Ducks in the comments. That's interesting. Penn State is 10. I think that's fair for them. They might slide, though. They got a tough game against Michigan this week. At number 9, Ole Miss jumping in up 1 spot as well. Now, this is where you might see Bama check in here. So maybe get that L3 set up. Bama was number 8 last week. None of the teams in front of them lost. OSU, Georgia, Michigan, FSU, Washington, Oregon, Texas, all remained undefeated. Well, I guess minus Texas and Oregon, the 2 losses, but all got by this week with some palpitations at times. That Texas game was, I thought they were going to lose. I really did. So Ole Miss at 9, which is a very high-quality win for Alabama, who does indeed check in at number 8 on the list. So the Crimson Tide stay at number 8. Surprised? Mad? Concerned? What do you think here?
I mean, honestly, it's expected. There's no reason when you talk about deserving for them to go up. Like, nobody lost in front of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me at all. I think Ole Miss being at 9 helps our cause as you get further, week to week to week. That's another top 10
It's a really good win.
Yeah.
It's a really good win. I already see Marcus. I see your hashtag RTR. Great question. We will get to it as part of the mailbag at the end of today's live show. I saw it in the preview there. Make sure auto push polls off. Our graphics editor, Sam, got a little bit antsy on number 7 and plugged it in before it was actually officially announced, or I should say sent over to us by the CFP committee. So Penn State 10, Ole Miss 9, Alabama is number 8 in the second version of the college football playoff rankings. As we continue to await the decision on number 7, it is indeed Texas. So again, no change there that's surprising. Penn State, Ole Miss go up 1 spot because Oklahoma lost, and Bedlam, by the way, shout out me for picking Oklahoma State to win that game. It was part of my, I did the round robin upsets there. So we will get to the top 6 in just a little bit. But if you want Alabama to clinch the SEC West this week, then like the video right now.
Drop a like.
Win this week, or Ole Miss loses to Georgia, which is very possible, you take home the SEC West Championship, which is it's great. You want more than that, of course, but every single person watching here should want the like for that SEC West Championship there. So if you haven't already, like the video right now. The top 6 coming up here in just a moment with today's live show made possible by Prize Picks. They have made this edition of the Alabama Football Report possible. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, the pros, the sharks, the sharps, etc., you just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. They have a vast selection of sports and stat types not offered anywhere else. In-game projections are available, and even esports, if that's a thing. I'm not into it. I know executive producer Jack is, but that's not what I go for. They also have college football picks available later on in the week. So for now, my NFL picks week. I'm riding a 4-week winning streak here with the flex play. Got to get 2 out of 3 right. Lockett more than, Christian Kirk more than, Geno Smith more than. PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Let's go back now to the bracket. The top 6 here for the college football playoff. Oregon is number 6, and Washington is number 5. Got to get to the CFP rankings, not the mock one. It's in that bucket, though. It's in the bracket bucket. Oregon at 6, Washington at number 5. So no change there. I still don't get why Washington is so low. They have a fantastic win over Oregon, and Michigan hasn't done it. And then the concern has been, they had some like not great efforts, which we ignore other teams also having bad efforts.
Yeah, I think they should definitely be above Florida State. If you got to take one team out, who is it? It would be, for me, Florida State.
My biggest issue has always been the College Football Playoff Committee. It's like, whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter and the rules are made up, and everything just is willy-nilly eye test, however you feel like there. Florida State comes in at number 4. So again, no change yet in the top 6. Oregon stays at number 6. Washington to number 5. Florida State at number 4. And Michigan will also remain at number 3. That is where we currently sit. And I like the strength of schedule stuff, like Washington's 41, FSU's 58. Michigan's 111.
Michigan has played the weakest schedule.
They've looked great. They've played nobody. Strength of record, Washington's 2. That kind of feels significant to me. But, in the end, all these teams control their own destiny. So we can be mad about the rankings for now. It'll all come into play as things move along here. Oregon 6, Washington 5, FSU 4, Michigan is number 3. Let's keep our eyes here on number 2. We have 2 options, of course. Georgia, will they remain at the 2nd spot? And they will. The Bulldogs are at number 2, and that means OSU stays at number 1. So no changes in the top 7. Top 8, I should say. Everything remains the same. We'll hang out here for a little bit and just run through the top numbers that matter here. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, Florida State. Number 5, Washington. And number 6, Oregon. As it relates to Alabama, they are behind Texas, but Alabama is still in a really good spot in terms of controlling their own destiny. If Bama wins out, they'll take out Georgia. One of Ohio State and Michigan will get taken out as well. That would leave one Big Ten champion. In theory, Florida State could still win out. One of Washington, Oregon would lose. And then you'd probably deal with Texas still being alive. You might need a little bit of help, but I know this, and I know you agree, producer Chris. An undefeated SEC champion is not getting left out of the college, or a one-loss SEC champion is not getting left out of the college football playoff. Even if they have to leave home FSU or Ohio State. And we also know this too. As we sit currently in college football, OSU, Georgia, Michigan, FSU, Washington are all undefeated. At least 3 of those teams are probably going to lose. If not, 4 of them will end up losing. That's how college football tends to work out there. So we'll see what happens. Bama sits at number 8. So we'll go through it one time here. Your second, college football playoff rankings. OSU remains at number 1. Georgia's number 2. Michigan is number 3. Florida State is number 4. Washington is 5. And with the way the Pac-12 is, it might be one of those teams that ends up losing. Huskies are 5. Oregon is 6. Texas is 7. Alabama is 8. No changes in the top 8 this week. Ole Miss is number 9. Penn State is number 10. Louisville jumps to number 11. Oregon State rises up to number 12. Tennessee, which Alabama now has 2 top 15 wins. Not many programs can say that across the country. Missouri is 14. Oklahoma State is 15, which, by the way, I guess you're cheering for Tennessee this week against Missouri, aren't you? Just to pad your resume a little bit.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Make that win feel better. Kansas is 16. They skyrocket up the rankings. Oklahoma is 17. Utah is 18. And Alabama win over LSU is 19. Arizona is 21, as Bama is one of, I believe, 3 teams with 3 top 25 wins so far this season. Iowa is 22. Tulane is 23. North Carolina is 24. And Kansas State is number 25. That is the initial college football playoff rankings. 2 things are set, or the second, I keep saying initial. 2 things set to come here on today's show. We will have an Alabama-Kentucky preview. We will also have an Alabama football mailbag. You can get your questions in right now if you haven't already done so. As who put it in there earlier? Let me scroll back and find it. As Marcus got in earlier. Use hashtag RTR. Producer Chris has set the filter. So all the comments we get for the mailbag, you got to use hashtag RTR for Roll Tide Roll. Otherwise, there's too much going on. They want to make it hashtag Bama because that gets through anyway. It would have been too chaotic there. So we will have preview next, mailbag following. Use hashtag RTR or Super Chat to skip the line and get on the show. We're going to have our Bama-Kentucky preview, then the mailbag. So if you have questions, we'll put these all available on demand if you can't watch or whatever. I see Junior putting his question in there. Use that hashtag, RTR. Or if you want to skip the line altogether, Super Chat would be very appreciated as well. It's the first time we've done the live non-game day Alabama football report. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Get those questions in right now. Now, we're filming today's Alabama-Kentucky preview as part of our live CFP Rankings reaction. If you want more live Alabama football shows, then subscribe. Let's show the bosses this is something you guys want to have in the future. It is a juicy Week 11 matchup. Kentucky not quite ranked, although they're a bowl team. They're not a team to be overlooked and slept on. Alabama going on the road to Lexington, Kentucky. They are a 10.5-point favorite in this one. The over-under set at 48.5. Now, we do have some Alabama football injury news to deal with and update you with on here. Deontay Lawson, that ankle still kind of lingering a little bit. He is listed as day-to-day. Jalen Key, the quad injury. It's day-to-day. It's college football. There's no real injury reports. So who knows what that actually means in terms of are they going to play or they're not going to play. Who knows? Devonta Smith, the foot injury. He's still kind of rehabbing from that one. Getting closer, 80%. Might see him down the stretch this year. And Ja'Cory Brooks, the wide receiver, has a foot injury as well he is currently battling with. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, or for Kentucky, I should say, Devin Leary, the former NC State transfer, left last game in the third quarter with both a shoulder and an eye issue, which is a very unusual combination there. But basically, Leary couldn't read the wristband, which is not something you see often. Now, head coach Mark Stoops says he can read it now. So as long as the shoulder's fine, you would figure he'll be playing against Alabama, which certainly is something to monitor here, by the way. So are you worried about any of the Alabama injuries? Maybe the Lawson or Key one. I think you have enough receiver depth to be okay there. Are you worried? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote for me in the comments section right now if you're worried about the Alabama football injuries. Kentucky's first 5 games of the year were Ball State, win. Eastern Kentucky, win. Akron, win. Vanderbilt, win. Florida, win. Those first 4 teams suck. Florida is their best win. They also haven't played anyone of note. The schedule was easier this year. A blowout loss at the hands of Georgia, a loss against Missouri, a close loss against Tennessee, and then a win over the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. You know, beating a bunch of... They've won the games they've supposed to win and lost the ones they weren't supposed to win so far this year. That's 7 wins, maybe 8-win football team this year. So score prediction time. We'll get to producer Chris at the end of today's show. Predict the score to Alabama against Kentucky. I assume everyone's picking Alabama, but it's the pinned comment on today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know your score predictions to Alabama against Kentucky. Key to victory number 1, start fast. This is a team that you want to take an early lead on to mitigate some of their best pieces we'll get to later on in today's show. Bama's got 1 opening drive touchdown this season, the first one against Middle Tennessee State University, which, by the way, does that actually count? Like, it's MTSU. That's not exactly a yes, we have Middle Tennessee. That's a huge factor in why we're able to do so good. Remember, even against LSU, 6 plays and a punt. They have been notoriously slow starters, especially in early games, which I get your college kids, but you should be able to wake up for those. You can't get behind and struggle early every game and expect to rally. You know, Jalen Milroe balled the F out on 3rd downs against the terrible LSU defense. That's not a fun way to live. It's not dominance. It's survival. It's fun survival at times, but it's challenging. So start hotter, Bama. One time. Key to victory number 2. How about your offensive line stays confident? They've made some changes, adjustments as the season has gone on. And I think one player in particular has really helped kind of change, I think particularly the run blocking for this team. Jaden Roberts. 2 sacks allowed. It's not the best. 1 hurry allowed. Again, the fact that the sacks allowed ratio is so high, it's kind of on Milroe, which is fine. He makes more than enough plays with his legs that you'll live with some sacks. That's okay. That's the trade-off. 78.6 run blocking grade. He's been a bully on the field. The picture I love that picture for him because he looks like a giant human being. He and J.C. Latham as some run blocking duos off that right side, it's really powerful. I love that combination for the Crimson Tide. He has been a significant upgrade over Darian Dalcourt. No shade intended, but he's been way better. And the run game, it's not necessarily a full-on causation, but a very strong correlation at minimum. Run game's gotten better as Jaden Roberts has gotten better. I like that sign. The chemistry seems better as well. It's a different spot. We'll get to Caden Proctor in a moment, but he's played better as well. So more O-line convo coming. But first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of the players, the pros, the sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. They have a vast selection of different, stat types, sports you can bet. You can bet on esports, basketball. You can mix and match NFL and NBA, which of course I'm sure is very popular. You can do some, LeBron James or maybe some Trae Young action. I don't know. Bama doesn't have. There's really no basketball team that quite's a great one. Oh, Brandon Miller. You can go Brandon Miller. Sure, you can go that route there. I was trying to think of a local team, which doesn't really apply there for Alabama. You can do college football, NBA as well, folks. I like to do the NFL prize picks. I'm hot. I've hit 4 in a row. Go to prizepicks.com/CL. Oh, I forgot to mention the actual picks this week. Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett. I love the Seahawks combo this week. I feel good about it. I almost went DK Metcalf. That'd be too much there. And Christian Kirk, more than receiving yards as well. The flex play. If you get all 3 right, you get 2.25x, which is less than the 5x on the power play for this 3-pick selection. But if I get 2 out of 3 right, I get 1.25x. I've done that 3 of the past 4 weeks, and then last week I got all 3 right. Awesome returns. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Link will be in the comments and the description. When you use that code and that link, you get a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Caden Proctor, by the way, has been pretty solid. I have been very impressed with what he's done lately. He looks more like what we thought he would be this year. The 3 sacks allowed, but only 4 pressures total. So again, got to get that ratio down to have more success. The run blocking grade has been much better as well. I think Alabama is now seeing the benefits of sticking with Caden Proctor after a really rough start to the season. Proctor is improving week to week, and I think the 3 sacks probably on Milroe to a certain extent, and that's okay. Some people act like sacks turnovers are the worst thing ever. They're not great. But if you're making plays, I will never get caught up in the 5% that's maybe not great from your quarterback when, he's out there dominating LSU. I'm not going to get too upset about that. So at this point in the season, how would you grade this offensive line? A, B, C, D, or F? Get those answers in for me in the comments section. Number 3, you have to build on last week. Alternative way of saying it, fight any complacency. Do not eat the rat poison, as Nick Saban likes to say. Fair or not, style points still matter in college football, as we saw with Washington's ranking in the CFP. Style points matter. I am excited to see what Jalen Milroe does this week. Maybe they don't ask him to run as much to help preserve his body in a game they should win, but he was 15 of 23, absolutely dealing on third downs. More on that in a moment. 219 passing yards, 155 on the ground, 4 TDs. He was electric. This was Jalen Hurts versions of Alabama quarterbacks, not just, Blake Sims like I thought you might get this year. Alabama was 11 of 14 on third downs, mainly because Jalen Milroe was dealing. Now, look, LSU's defense is bad. It's probably like the second worst defense you'll play. It's the third worst. Middle Tennessee, Chattanooga, LSU. It's a bad defense, folks. Milroe completed multiple third and longs. He was getting big chunk plays, having success, using his legs. By far, the best we've ever seen Jalen Milroe look in a football game. He was fantastic against the Tigers. Let's hope that continues moving forward. Now, if you want to clinch the SEC West this week with a win over Kentucky or a loss by Ole Miss, which you kind of want them to win anyway, like the video right now if you want to clinch the SEC West this week. Key to victory number 4. Got to stop Ray Davis. This is Kentucky's best player. I have been very impressed with Ray Davis so far this season. 148 carries, 903 yards. Really impressive 6.1 yards per carry, by the way. 19 catches, 227 yards. He's actually the rare 3-time transfer. Began his career, 2-time transfer, my bad. Began his career at Temple, went to Vanderbilt, ran for 1,000 yards last year, by the way, for Vandy, and then goes, I'm going to go to Kentucky for my final year. 14 touchdowns. Dude has been a baller this year. Already has a career high in average, about to surpass his career high rushing yards on a fraction of the carries, and more touchdowns than his college career ever. Already surpasses receiving yard numbers, touchdowns. He's got 14 scores. Dude's been electric this season. The good news is Bama's run defense is pretty good. 3.5 yards per carry. This is a great ground game, great runner, meeting a great run defense. So your big hog mollies up front, Team Otis, Tim Keenan, etc. Those guys got to stand strong. Linebackers got to read, react, and flow properly. Should be a fantastic battle. If you stop Ray Davis, if he does not, that's Kentucky's best chances for Davis to go off. If you stop him, you're going to win this football game. So what is your confidence level in Bama beating Kentucky? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Final key to victory, finish strong. We're cheating a little bit here by going, if you start fast and finish strong, you're going to win. But it is true, and the reason we put it on here is because of what's happened of late. The past 2 weeks, they've outscored opponents 48-7 in the second half of football games. 48-7. It's been electric results. Do that to LSU and Tennessee is very impressive. They shut down Tennessee. They shut down LSU. Both those teams are better than Kentucky, so it should be a win for Alabama. That is why, producer Chris, man, you are all in this week. 41-13 score prediction from producer Chris. I'll go like 31-13. I won't quite go as explosive on offense. But either way, I love Alabama to cover the spread this week. I think it'll be a fantastic performance out of the Crimson Tide, and they will clinch the SEC West this weekend with a win. All right, will Alabama make the college football playoff? It is the pin poll of today's video. Y for yes, N for no. Will Bama make the college football playoff? Y or N? What do you think, producer Chris? Final answer. Well, I guess for this week, I should say.
I think, yeah. I think we got a good chance of beating Georgia. To be honest with you, I think that's a very winnable game for us. And if we beat Georgia in the SEC championship, we're in. No matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll fight somebody.
They will not leave out the the SEC champion. Like there's no way. They won't do it. Unless Georgia loses the next two and they backdoor their way in, then okay, maybe that could happen. But I'd be pretty shocked if that went down that way. So will Bama make the college football playoff? Y for yes, N for no. By the way, one last call. Mailbag. We've never done one before here on the channel. 2 ways to get the show. Guaranteed question answered if you super chat, because we appreciate all super chats that come in. And, or I should say, or simply use hashtag RTR. I did see some of those come in earlier, but we need more because we'd like to have the variety and get as many questions as we possibly can on the show. Use hashtag RTR. So, you know, Al Sanders, I actually like your comment in there. Throw hashtag RTR so we can include it. So, mailbag coming up. Super chat or get your questions, comments, thoughts, whatever it looks like, using hashtag RTR plus whatever your comment is after that for today's live Alabama football mailbag. You guys are watching the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris behind the scenes. We are doing a live mailbag right now. If you want more Bama football mailbags in the future, then like today's video. We're experimenting, trying things. We want to hear from you guys with what you like in terms of the content we do. If you want more mailbags, like the video right now. First up from Marshall, hashtag RTR. Which is going to be our mailbag, CTA type deal. That's how you get on the show. I think we keep seeing more from Jam Miller. I do think you'll see some Jam Miller. I don't necessarily think this is going to be okay, Jam Miller is now over Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan. You have an embarrassment of riches to a certain extent in the backfield. And Jam Miller has been nice this year. He's got 7 games of the 9 he's played with carries, only 17 total, 4.2 average. Now there is some asterisks to put on here in the sense that a lot of those are coming in late games, which normally not as good of opponents. Also not the best supporting cast around. So I want to asterisk that. 1 catch, 34 yards. I like what I've seen from Jam Miller. But I also saw Roydell Williams just battering ram his way down the throats of LSU. I've seen Jace McClellan have great games too. I kind of still want to see some Justice Haynes. But I like what I've seen from Jam Miller. I am open to him playing more in the future. So what do you guys think? Great job building on the fly, producer Chris. Should Bama play Jam Miller more moving forward? Y for yes, N for no. sound off in the comments section. From Marcus Cartrell, I think I pronounced that right. Marcus, I'm terribly sorry. If Ole Miss beats Georgia, which they could, but I highly doubt, where would they go? Do they jump Bama? That's a good question. Let's go to the bracket real quick here. By the way, we'll go to 10 to 7, showcase where things are at currently, and then we'll break down the top 6 as well. As things sit at the current moment, Ole Miss is number 9. Bama is number 8. Texas is 7. Now, Texas is ahead of Bama because they won the head-to-head. Bama was ahead of Ole Miss because they won the head-to-head. I don't think, and by the way, Georgia's 2 right now. I don't think it would be fair to have Ole Miss jump Bama. In the same way it wouldn't be fair if Bama jumped Texas right now. So what I think would happen in the top 6 is, assuming everyone else wins, OSU goes to 1, Michigan's 3, FSU's 4, Washington's 5, and then I would actually drop Oregon to make you happy, producers. I would drop Oregon. I'd put Texas 6, Bama 7, Ole Miss 8. Georgia should drop to 9. I think head-to-head matters a lot. Otherwise, what's the point of playing the games, right? So it should be Bama over Ole Miss over Georgia. And, if Georgia redeems themselves, win the SEC, fine. You can adjust it after that. That's the route I would go. I don't think it's fair to ignore head-to-head and go, well, we had them 2 last time. Now we got to keep them high. That's the route I would go. Junior Estrada. I guess I kind of answered this on accident with the previous question. Should Bama be higher than Texas? I don't think so. As long as Texas has 1 loss. In the event Texas loses a game, if Texas loses the Big 12 championship game or whatever, then yes. Then I would knock down Texas and put Bama over them. Or if Bama wins the SEC championship and Texas maybe, skirts by and barely wins, or something down the stretch causes a real and tangible change. But I do think head-to-head matters. Otherwise, why are we playing the games? We could simply put the 4 best teams at the beginning of the year. We can have Georgia, OSU, Michigan, Bama play every season, right? Expansion, great, but games got to matter. Darius Carter. Why did it take this long to let Jalen run? Sorry, Darius Carter. I might have mispronounced the name. I don't know. I think he may have tweaked something at one point, the hamstring or whatever, but I don't know. They should have run them. What's what we talk about all year long, producer Chris. Going to be a run-first team with defense. They're going to let Jalen Miller use his legs, be a dynamic playmaker. And then they're like, what if we didn't do that? I don't get it. I'm glad that they're doing it. I think it's for the best. I hope they keep doing it, frankly. It's an asset that he has. If you agree with us and you want to see Jalen Milroe run even more, then spam run in the comments section. We believe we have the data that shows if we get more runs, the more he will run successfully moving forward. GA marking duo. If we win out and beat Georgia and Texas wins out, would we get in the playoffs over them? I think you would have both teams get in. What I think your scenario would be is the Big Ten champion, assuming they're undefeated, gets in, OSU or Michigan. There's one school, right? Alabama gets in, Texas gets in, and then undefeated or more impressive, because I doubt FSU and Washington both go undefeated. I find that highly unlikely, given the way they've played and how college football always ends up going. Now, I think one of those teams gets in. In the weird scenario of there's an undefeated Big Ten champion with no drama around scandals, undefeated ACC champion, undefeated Pac-12 champion, and it's then Texas and Alabama at 1 loss, I guess that's your scenario. But I also have a very tough time seeing that being a likely outcome and seeing the college football playoff going, we're going to leave the SEC champion out. I feel like they would still screw Texas, which Texas fans would be mad and correctly so. But I think if Bama wins out, they're going to get in. I know there are 5 undefeated teams right now. We know come conference championship time, it's going to be 3 at most. Teams are going to lose. That's how it always works out in college football. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. This is the largest independently owned DFS platform in North America. It's you against the numbers. You're not battling pros and sharks. You just pick 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. What I love most about Prize Picks is their reboot policy. Your entries stay in play even if one of your guys gets hurt, which happens all the time in football and basketball games. If a player goes down with an injury in the first half and they do not return, the player is rebooted. They are the only DFS platform with an injury insurance policy. That way, hey, you're feeling great. You're having awesome success, and oh no, shoot. My guy got hurt in the first half. He was 5 yards away from hitting it. That's okay. They're going to take care of you because they want you to win. Now, here are my Prize Picks this week for the NFL slate of games. Geno Smith, more than passing yards. Christian Kirk, more than receiving yards. Tyler Lockett, more than receiving yards. Can you tell I like the Seahawks matchup passing-wise? Yeah, I like it a lot. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. David B, #RTR. Could Auburn or Kentucky be trap games? I will put Kentucky in the trap game category. I think you win, but that's your trap game. I will never put Auburn in the trap game category. That is a rivalry game. I am taking the points for Auburn in that game. Auburn's not good this year. And we knew that going in. And all my years watching college football, it's not just, true only for the Iron Bowl, but for most major rivalry games. If you are not good as the underdog, if you're probably not going to be a bowl team this year. I'm looking at Auburn right now. Actually, Auburn's probably going to backdoor their way into a bowl game. Never mind. They'll be a low-end bowl game. They'll beat New Mexico State. There'll be a 6, maybe 7-win team when you play them. They're not nearly as good. They've beaten really no one of note so far this year. They're going to give you hell. They are going to find a way to make that a one-score game somehow, because that's what rivalry games are. The underdog gets up for it. This is their championship game. That's all the bowl games, sure. That's all they have to look forward to is beating Bama, ending their season, right? So Auburn is going to give you a fight. It's going to happen. Kentucky, more of a trap game. So are Auburn and Kentucky trap games? I'll put Kentucky in there. I will not include Auburn. It's a rivalry game for me. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off in the comments section right now. From Mike Jones, #RTR. I feel like Jaheim Otis hasn't done anything this year. I don't think we've called out his name very much this season. At least watch, there's Otis. And then the numbers don't really lie either. 19 tackles, half a sack, half a TFL, 2 PBUs. But I don't think he's been bad. I kind of thought this would be I thought he was good against LSU, mind you. Only played 16 snaps in that game because he's a run stopper. I thought you were going to see a bigger year out of Otis. I kind of thought year 2 breakout, he slimmed down, he was in better shape. Maybe it's a bit of a sophomore slump for Otis. I'm not out on him, to be clear, but I do think there's some room for him to be a better piece moving forward. Al Sanders. Kentucky does a ton of run pressures this weekend. Nyblack should have big games over the middle. Milroe must be sharp on intermediate passes this weekend. I think Al's onto something there. The intermediate it's dangerous, but it's really effective if and when you hit it. I thought he was pretty good against LSU in that area as well. I know the Amari Nyblack part is why producer Chris got your question on air, because he loves Amari Nyblack, baby. If you guys love the Alabama football report, you have come to the right place. Hit that sub button right now. YouTube.com/RollTideTV. Free videos, not quite every day, but they get close to it and you get post-game reactions, etc., hit that sub button right now. From Marcus, which Alabama player balls out on offense and defense this game? Ooh, I like this question. Can I speak the Kendrick Law breakout game into existence? Producer Chris, love that one there. Defensively, I think Kentucky's going to actually target Kool-Aid McKinstry for once. Kool-Aid interception coming. I also want to go Caleb Downs. Excitement there. So great question, Marcus. I appreciate that. Give me Kendrick Law and Kool-Aid McKinstry / Caleb Downs this week. Who's the best one-loss team in college football, folks? O for Oregon, T for Texas, A for Alabama. I think we know which route they're going to go there. I think when it's all said and done, it will be Bama, because my hot take here, Chris, is that neither Texas nor Oregon will remain a one-loss team. That they will drop a game here down the stretch. Oregon's got USC. I'm just gonna read off their schedules here real quick. Oregon has USC, Arizona State, and Oregon State. That's not an easy gauntlet there. Arizona State, low key, has actually been a more competitive team than you would otherwise think. They have had dogfight against Cal, dogfight against Colorado, and then they got their ass kicked by Utah. It happens. That's a trap game for Oregon. Texas, meanwhile, Patrick's game is maybe for Oregon. We'll see. Texas has TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech. They should win all three of those. You know what would be the most Texas thing? Losing the Big 12 championship game. That'd be the most Texas outcome possible, and we all know it. So I think that's going to happen there, and then maybe you get Bama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game, and maybe there's two SEC teams in there after all. Bama's going to run the table here. Kentucky, Chattanooga, they'll win a squeaker against Auburn because it's the Iron Bowl, and that's how those games always turn out. And then can they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But Bama's hopes are still alive. Also, it's always fun to me say, oh yeah, down year for Alabama. Championship game berth, and they'll be a two-loss team at worst. It's kind of funny how it all turns out. We appreciate everyone who tuned in for the first ever college football playoff ranking show here on the Alabama Football Report. Hit that sub button if you haven't already for more free Alabama football videos.